welcome to Saturday Something in our lounge, which has been, over these last few months, also a studio for our recordings and for when we're live streaming. I was chatting with somebody the last couple of weeks and thought it would be a really interesting idea for some people to give you a bit of an insight into how things work, what it looks like behind the scenes when we're going live and when we're recording. So this is Saturday Studio Tour. So when we first started live streaming, this was actually the wall that we were using, and whether we remember it or not, we were projecting from this side of the room using an old projector that we had here at home, and we were using as much of that wall as we could and trying to create the graphics so that you could read the words, etc. on the wall there. And then after a few weeks we decided to move over to this wall, and we were sat in front of the television and we were using that as the place. After weeks of that process and the dismantling our lounge, putting it all back together and the challenges of all that, we decided that we would find a new space in the house and create a little area that could stay set up. And that's when we moved over to this section here, and you can see one of the big challenges, which is interesting, is trying to get enough and the right kind of light into this end of the room, which is, you can see we've got our light fitting pointed towards it, we've got lights wherever we can, and trying to get the right kind of light, and even to try and get some light at the back there's a light down there and you can see it's pointing up, just to try and create a little bit of extra brightness in the space so it doesn't feel too dull. So if I just move to here, you'll see this is the computer that's running the words and the PowerPoints and things. It's just simply a case of clicking and moving things on, but one of our children has diligently sat here each week and looked after this. Now this is our church laptop that used to sit at the back of church, and you can see if I click here, it changes up on the screen, or it should change up on the screen, and it moves on and go through the words. This computer is a little bit cranky and old, and so we've had trouble at times playing video clips and things on the telly there. That's partly because of that. And just here, usually sat here running the sort of social media side of things, and never the children, and your name when we go for the shout outs gets written on these boards. And so other children tend to sit somewhere quietly in the room, and this is where Frodo tried to sit quietly the other week and failed, so he's now banished again during Sunday mornings. Poor dog. Just coming round now into the area where we sit. We've had a little bit of a remodel this week because our percussionist has decided he's happy to be on screen, so you might see him in the morning, but we've tried to create a space where he can sit, but that created all kinds of other challenges which I'll explain to you in a moment. But first of all, here you can see we've got the piano, we've got this, which is actually my recording interface as well as being a MIDI controller. So the microphone, which is this very nice microphone I've had for a number of years, plugs into this. That then has to be run via USB into my computer. My computer is here, as you can see. It's embarrassing, I can see myself. But if I take a seat here, this is where we are running things from. And this is a program called OBS that I've got open on the computer here. Oh, just as an aside, here's the sort of service plan that we work from every week. That'll be printed off. And it's surprisingly tricky to sort of try and look at that and focus on that whilst you focus on everything else that's going on live at the time, to be honest with you. But there we go. This is a piece of software called OBS, which is kind of like basically a studio all on your MacBook, and we stream that into YouTube. The process of doing that involves going through Studio and Create and go live. And if we go live, we're not actually going to be going live at the moment. You can set up the whole thing here, and I'm just pretending I'm doing this, reusing the details from last week. Create. But then what you have to do is actually use this software here, start streaming, and that will feed into YouTube. Eventually it will sort of catch up and it will realize that I'm trying to feed some information into here, and what's going on here will pop up on the window here, and that's when you know that it's ready to actually go live. Here we go, I'm about to appear, but there's always a lag, so this is always a few seconds behind, and I can't actually have the sound on this and know what's going out live, because otherwise it will interfere with the sound in the room. And then once we've reached that point, if I was to click that button there, go live, then I would actually be live, but I'm not going to do that. So it's fine, nothing's going online at the moment, and if I just go to here and stop streaming, then nothing, it will stop feeding the information through to YouTube. So that's what we have to do to get ready, and it does that by, there's a code that you put in the settings here, and that code, it's very over my head really, but that code feeds into YouTube. YouTube picks up that stream key, which is what it's called, and then it feeds it out there, so that it goes through onto the internet. Here over on this bit here is where I control what's going on. So we have sort of graphics, and if we're playing video clips, then I put them in here, and I click on them, and here we go, we get Marion saying hello, and all these things are fed through here. Last week we started putting the prayers on as a slide, but I haven't got them ready for this week yet. So yeah, you kind of flip through all the things there. One thing which is a real challenge, like I said before, is getting the light right, because you'll notice if I turn off some lights here, if you're just looking at, in fact what I'll do is I'll start recording in OBS, not streaming but recording, and you'll see what happens when I switch over to there in a minute. So it turned out that at this point I had not actually turned the microphone on to feed into my OBS, and because I stopped recording on my phone in just a second, I lost the sound for this section. But you can see I'm just showing you how the different light affects the situation with what you can see in the studio. Here I'm complaining about the fact that I can't go and turn the main lights off, and then amazingly a hand appeared and those lights were turned off. So that was quite an entertaining moment, and back on they come, and you can see that really just the amount of light that is pointing and the kind of light that is pointing makes a huge difference. And but that does cause problems for the screen behind me, because the TV is a very reflective surface, so I have actually had to spend lots and lots of time, probably hours, changing angles on things, trying to cover up lights, trying to cover up different things in the room, and trying to find ways to make sure that that screen is at the right angle so that it doesn't reflect. And next we have an old IKEA shelf that turned into a guitar stand. I'm actually having to keep this drawer open because this drawer is blocking some of that light from over there, but if that light's not on, then you don't get the right amount of light on the screen. And these are all the kind of challenges that we're sort of having to work with and try and overcome. But it's all good fun, and we are enjoying ourselves. Just above here you'll see the iPad. That's what we had been using to stream to Facebook, but that has proven to be somewhat challenging. Again, I stopped recording on my phone, so I've had to go to voiceover. I was just explaining that getting the angles right and streaming to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time has been challenging. There are ways of doing it. If you can pay for it, then you can send simultaneous streams from OBS into both, but that's not something that we're doing. And yeah, I was just explaining some of that. Have a great day. God bless you. Thanks for joining. Hope you found that interesting.